This is the daily writing exercise recorded, day 21, titled Bigtooth Park. Whose idea was it to come to the park? Peter asked. He shifted uncomfortably upon the slightly damp grass of Bigtooth Park. What? Jane replied. What now? Peter folded his arms and rocked back and forth. What do you mean? It's freaking cold. No, it isn't, Joy said. The sun is out. Yeah, it's not blistering, but it's not cold. It's fresh. Well, I'm cold, Peter said. And it is cold. You guys just have some weird blood level. Blood level? Tim said laughingly. You know what I mean, Peter replied, shivering. Blood level, blood temperature, whatever. Sure, Tim said. My blood level is fantastic. How is your blood level? He asked Jane. I could use a top-up, Jane replied. Tim raised his hand. Say no more. Here, an ice-cold beer to level things out. Ah, exactly what I needed, Jane replied with a serious expression. The heat was almost getting to me. And what about you? Tim said to Joy. Is the heat getting to you too? Joy placed her hand upon her forehead. I don't know, she said. I can't tell with it being so warm. Tim nodded understandingly. Here, he said, handing her an ice-cold beer. Better be safe than sorry. Peter watched it all, utterly annoyed, and growled each time Tim handed one of the others a beer. Very, very funny, he said. I thought it was, Tim replied cheerfully. One of my better ones, in fact. You should take it on the road, Joy said, pointing a beer towards him. Yeah, and I'll be your manager, Jane suggested. I'll only do it, though, for 40%. 40%? Tim cried out. I'll be ruined. Well, that's show business, Jane replied, taking another swig from her bottle of beer. What a shame, Joy said, shaking her head. Cut down in his prime, ruined by the business. He just was too innocent for this world, Jane added. I almost feel sorry for taking advantage of him. The group chuckled together whilst they continued to drink their beers. Peter, on the other hand, wasn't enjoying himself in the slightest. Despite it all, he actually did feel cold and could not for the life of him understand why the others didn't. He and the group were sitting in Bigtooth Park, not far from one of its many entrances and the car park beyond. A violent wind blew across the park and its freshly cut grass, and against Peter and his friends as they sat upon a large blanket in the middle of it. There were more people in the park. It was actually quite well visited, which made sense. It was one of those rare days before the summer, where the sun was out and the weather channels and sites had proclaimed it to be a good day for an outing or two. Many, if not most people, had taken the news and acted upon it. Peter already knew how his day at the office would be the next day, and how often he would have to hear how great of a weekend it was, purely because the sun happened to be out that particular day. As if the sun wasn't out every day. Peter was cold. That was a fact. And Peter wanted to go home. But he couldn't. He wasn't the one that drove them there. It was Joy's car that had used to come up to the park. A decision he now regretted. Even worse, it was his friends that had convinced him that it really wasn't going to be that cold. That it all would be fine. That the day would heat up naturally. That it was always cold in the mornings and that it would level itself out in the afternoon. Well, none of that happened. It was 3 o'clock now and Peter was still cold. He was also a bit drunk, which did not help. He was miserable and he was drunk and he found it difficult to keep up with the conversation. Peter blamed the cold for it, and the alcohol a little bit as well. But it was mostly the cold that he blamed for his current predicament. So, anyway, he heard Jane say, and that is why she got fired. Damn, Tim replied. That's crazy. I know, right? Jane said, finishing up her beer. But that's men for you. Hey, Tim called out, quasi-insulted. Jane raised her hand. Sorry, not all men. Thank you, Tim said. But it is a lot of men, though, Jane reaffirmed. Tim shrugged. I don't know. Would you do it? Jane asked him. Do what? Tim replied. You know, Jane said. Sleep with your secretary if you had one. Tim shrugged again. I don't know. But let me ask you this, though. Would you have sex with your boss for a promotion? Jane smiled and quickly opened up another beer. No, Joyce said, aghast. You didn't. Jane laughed and shook her head. No, I didn't. But you would, though, Tim said. Jane wobbled her head from side to side. I don't know, she said. Yeah, maybe. Depends on the guy, I guess. She could tell the others were ready to judge her, so she preempted them with an explanation. Shit is expensive, she explained. Besides, there's no way in hell I'm going to get the promotion through merit alone. Merit means shit these days. Everyone performs. So, if it means having sex with a hot guy, why do I care? Yeah, but, Tim said, that's the thing though, isn't it? It's not going to be some hot guy. It's definitely going to be some sweaty 50-year-old, some fat, bald guy who probably does that shit to dozens of other women in the company. But it doesn't have to be, Jane reasoned. No, Tim admitted, but I guarantee you that it will be. So, would you fuck him too? Who? The fat old sweaty bald guy. Jane shrugged. No, probably not. Depends on the money, I guess. How much? Joy asked. I don't know, Jane replied. It depends. Would have to be a lot of money, though. An insane amount of money, actually. Besides, it's not like you wouldn't do it, he said to Tim. I mean, Tim said, finishing his beer. I would if I could. I mean, it's just that nobody cares about an average-looking guy. Hell, they don't even care about the hot guy, really. But you would if you could, Joy asked him again. Hell yeah, Tim said confidently. It's just that the corporate world doesn't care about or want me. Well, at least not in that way. Jane shook her head. How very sad. First the entertainment industry, and now the corporate world. Whatever will be left of our poor Timmy. It's Tim, actually, Tim said. And I'll be fine. Jane took another swig from her beer. So, what about you then? She asked Joy. Would you fuck your boss for a promotion? Joy chuckled and rolled her eyes. No. No, thank you. Okay, Jane said, slightly insulted by the way Joy had said it. And what about you? She said to Peter. Peter growled back at her. I'm cold, he said loudly. No more has been written or recorded. And actually I apologize for that one. But I just couldn't be bothered, so there it is. Hell, you finish it. Why not? Goodbye.